everybody? It's Cliff Jones talking to you today from my piano. I need to fix something. I need to take off the snaring part of this. There we go. And I also need to turn this camera around so that you will be able to have a better view, so it won't look mirrored. Because I hate the fact that there's this mirroring effect. Oh, crap. What's up, everybody? It's Cliff Jones. I don't even know how this looks. Let me see. Let me look at this again. Bring this out. Okay. All right. So, what's up, everybody? It's Cliff Jones. I am here using my COPET method to help me learn or relearn the Mazeppa Etude by Franz Liszt. Excuse me. A few things about the Mazeppa by Franz Liszt. It's a transcendental etude composed by Franz Liszt. It's the fourth etude from his book of etudes for piano. And if I read right here, this tone poem belongs in the category of program music, which is something that Liszt started back in the 1800s. It is emotional in its contents and must be played accordingly, especially the high dramatic phrase passage towards the end. From a technical point of view, this etude belongs to the foremost bravura type and requires powerful wrists and a well-developed octave technique and unfaltering endurance. Now, what I'm going to show you is how I'm going to use my COPET method, which stands for the Composer-Oriented Piano Expression and Technique method, to help me break down this music. Now, first and foremost, what is the Mazeppa about? The Mazeppa is about a king, I think, galloping into war. You have to fact check me for sure. But Liszt used that story, or that, that poem, the poem, to make his own transcription of what it would look like if a king is galloping into war. Now, the way this starts off, me using the composer-oriented piano expression technique method, I'm going to really depict how I want to play this piece, right? So, you have these rolling chords. First and foremost, before I jump into anything, what is the composer-oriented piano expression and technique method? It's a method that I came up with 23 years ago when I first started teaching myself piano at 14 years old, from 14 to 17 years old for 3 years. And basically it was me using technique it was me using storytelling to build my technique. Storytelling in the sense of my thoughts, my emotions that live in here and here, and using these things to build my technique. If it was octaves, or if it was scales, if it was arpeggios I was struggling with at the time, I would tap into my own storytelling and work on these different type of octaves and compose, and work on these different type of techniques to compose to help me work on these techniques. Let me say this whole entire thing again. The composer-oriented piano expression and technique method is a method that I came up with 23 years ago when I first started teaching myself piano for 3 years from the ages of 14 to 17 years old. The way that I came up with this method was I would print out music that was way above me at the time, and I would scan the music, follow along with it, with the recording, and I would pick out certain techniques that that I found really interesting or deemed really challenging or at that time really impossible. So for example, if it was scales that I saw in Mozart's music, I would, whatever scale that I saw, whether C major to A minor, whatever the case may be, I would compose based off of something that happened in my life or some type of story that I would come up with to help me learn this type of technique, right? And I did that with my scales, going through the circle of fifths. I would do that with my arpeggios, my octaves. And in 3 years' time, by the time I started taking lessons at 17 years old, my technique was pretty good. But more importantly, it was my artistry that really overcame my technique. Because when you focus on your artistry, meaning your touch on the piano, your storytelling, where your thoughts and emotions come from here and here, when you focus on that and bringing it out on the piano, then you're working on two things at once. You're working on your technique, but you're also building yourself as an artist, right? We as pianists, we paint pictures with music, with the keys, right? When we perform, we don't have the luxury to be able to verbalize how we think and how we feel, right? Based off of the piece that we're playing, right? But we have to be able to bring that out to our audience. But the question becomes, how do you do this? How do you develop your artistry, right? And you develop your artistry by, once again, using storytelling. And that helps you, in turn, develop your touch on the piano. That's the most important thing. Your touch on the piano is the most important thing, right? Now, while I'm using this COPET method, that helped me my first 3 years. Now, fast forward to now, 23 years later, I also do this with my students, right? To help them learn various techniques, to help them learn scales, arpeggios, octaves, expressive playing. Through storytelling, you're using storytelling to help you develop your technique and, more importantly, your artistry. And I've helped a lot of students become even greater pianists, right? And it's deeper than just, okay, you're using the COPET method to compose, to work on these techniques, to develop your artistry, but also when it comes to pieces that you want to play, you're using your artistry to help you tell your own story through whatever piece that you're playing. Because that also takes away from the pressure of making sure that you play what this composer really wanted, right? Or it takes away from the level of perfection that's in the classical world, that you have to play like this at this standard, otherwise you're not deemed a great pianist, right? Anyway, so you're using the COPET method to help you learn pieces, and I'm going to show you how I do this today. So, sorry about that. So you're using the COPET method to help. I'm going to use the COPET method, my own method, to help you go through the Mazeppa. When you first start off the Mazeppa, you have these rolling chords. Who's these people playing? It's still even recording. Yes, it is. Okay. Right. So, when you first start off the Mazeppa, you have these rolling chords, diminished chords. If I had to tell a story based off of that intro, I would say that these are the horns calling the people into battle, right? The king is, or whoever the horn blower is, getting everybody ready for a battle. Off. Now Liszt has something called a cadenza ad libitum. Now, what he wrote was, change this. Right? Now, all that is good because it starts off in a piano, a piano dynamic, which is soft, with a crescendo, then more and more you're gradually building the sound more and more. By the time you get to here, the top of the piano, everything is fortissimo. Right? And ending with the allegando, meaning slowing things down to set up the main melody. Now, using the COPET method, and also it says cadenza ad libitum, meaning that in a sense you can make your own cadenza. Because you had these horns here, whatever the notes are, and now we have this rumbling sound as people are, the horses, everybody are running from a distance into battle. I'm going to instead play it as octaves and more dramatic. Of what we do, or we can do take your time. I can do interlocking octaves. Hold. Directly into the melody, right? So you have two different type of ways that I can use the COPET method to help me make my own cadenza in Franz Liszt music. Now, I know people are going to say, well, you're not playing what you're not playing what Liszt wrote. You're being disrespectful to the composer and different things like that. But then the thing is that it says cadenza ad libitum, meaning that yes, you can play this cadenza here, and usually during the 1800s, when you had cadenzas, especially Liszt, he would change up his own cadenzas if he wanted to, right? And now some people will be like, well, you're not Liszt. Well, the thing about Franz Liszt that is so amazing, despite his own technical abilities and him as a composer from a depth and heartfelt side of music, he was an innovator and he took challenges with music, right? He would play other people's music and change the text. Now, of course, people have received a lot of backlash and whatnot, but it paints the picture that, and the most important thing, that music is subjective, right? Now, of course, there's rules within music and there's times where you cannot go so far outside of the box. But if Liszt changed his own stuff, why can't we, right? Why can't we make certain pieces our own, right? Because there's no way that we're gonna be able to play exactly what Liszt wanted. There's no historical recordings of Franz Liszt playing his own music. There may be his pupils who played his music, right? So we maybe have an idea, but it's still not Liszt, right? And then also you gotta take into consideration that now in today's world, it's all about the flash and the thrill. It's all about how fast you're playing, how loud you're playing. And in my opinion, you're losing the artistry of the piece, right? And this is where the COPET method helps pianists really focus on the artistry of the piece and taking off the pressure of making your pieces sound like what somebody else would want it to sound like, right? You making it sound like how you want it. So again, when I think of this cadenza ad libitum, right? And the piece is Mazeppa. Mazeppa is marching with his army on horses, going into war. When you start this off softly in octaves, I want you to imagine you are in the battle as well, going against Mazeppa. You and your troops are rallying right here. And all of a sudden you hear this low rumbling of war cries. And as you're looking over the hill, you see the flags. They're getting closer. And now right at your door, right in front of your army. And now it's time to go into battle. Right? And then, now you're fighting. And that's where the COPET method comes in. Helping you to shape your own musical ideas when it comes to the pieces that you love. Let's turn the page. Now you have this melody here. I'm going to first play the melody. That's the first part of the melody, first 4 measures, right? Now, in between the melodies, you have this part right here, which is supposed to give off the impression that Mazeppa is on his horse galloping into battle, right? While you have the horns playing. Now, a lot of people play this. Right? A lot of people play it extremely fast. With me and me using my COPET method, I'm going to change not necessarily the text, but how fast you play this piece, right? Especially because of the fact that the fingerings that Liszt is using to mimic the galloping, right? It's 2/4, 2/4, 2/4, 2/4, 2/4, 2/4. That's really challenging to do when you have to jump from here, right? It's really challenging to do to maintain that speed while also playing this melody that's so many keys apart, right? So here's the thing though. But here's the thing. When it comes to this galloping part, and you're using 2/4, 2/4, I love the fact that it really, using 2/4, 2/4, it really emphasizes the horse galloping, and I do not want it to be swallowed by this melody. So what if we slow things down a little bit, right? Right? Now, when it comes to the storytelling part, we have these horns, followed by the horses. Right? Everybody's battling, everybody's fighting, right? And then when it comes to this soft part, even though Liszt didn't write like a mezzo forte or mezzo piano, right? To depict this, right? Even though he didn't write a mezzo piano or anything like that, if I had to transcribe it, the reason why I'm going to get softer here is because now, over the hills, right? I'm in this fierce battle, but over the hills, I hear this beautiful C major. That means backup is coming along the way to help me out even more, right? I hear this beautiful C major chords. Right? I hear these beautiful major chords in the midst of all this minor sounding chords that depicts this great war that's happening, right? And this depicts right here, these C major chords tells me that there is more help coming for me in this battle against you, right? I'm fighting hard, right? Horse galloping, but then listen. So we can go even a little bit slower. Right? So you have the C major chord going into F major, and now you have this E major chord. That means that the help has arrived. which is symbolizing that this battle is really intense. A lot of people are getting hurt, but my team is definitely winning because I am more and more and more getting strong. I'm getting stronger more and more during this battle. So we have let's do that part again. We're still on our horses. We're still battling, running through you and your team, right? Because now we're getting faster because we need to get to you as the king. So, ain't nobody stopping us but ourselves if we want. We have... I'm not going to do that. When it comes to these chords right here, when it comes to those type of chords, these type of octaves, I'm the way I depict it using the COPET method, I am at your front door saying, let me in. But you are fighting back. But then no, this is a conversation that you and I are having this is a proverbial vocal conversation that me as the King Mazeppa and you as my enemy are having, right? So we got to hear. I'm saying let me in. You're saying I am not letting you in. I am saying let me in. Reminds, if I could, using my COPET method to depict this section here, I have finally broken through your fortress, and my army, I have finally broken through your fortress. My army has finally gotten through your fortress, right? I keep saying the same thing twice. My army has finally broken through your defense. And as I'm coming down the piano, you're feeling more and more at despair, right? You don't know what to do. You're looking around at your army falling to my hand, right? But once I get to this part, there is hope for you, because now you have finally found reinforcements. So if I play that whole entire section part, that section again, I'm knocking at your door. I'm knocking at your door. You're telling me, you are telling me, King Mazeppa, no. You are not getting past my defense. You're not getting past my defense. But I say, yeah, okay, we'll see. We're having a conversation. I'm saying, no, I'm here. No, you're telling me, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. And then you look over. You look over the hills, and you see your own reinforcements coming. And they are saying, I am here. have this battle, right? We are battling. We're doing the thing where I'm King Mazeppa. My team has penetrated your fortress. You have found new reinforcements out of nowhere, and now you have pushed me back out, right? But I'm starting to plot and scheme. How can I get back into your fortress? During what war was it? I think it was either World War I or World War II. Real quick, let me say this real quick before I tell you what I want you to think of using the COPET method. This next section of the piece is really beautiful, right? Amidst all this chaos, Liszt inserts this beautiful, melody, right? Now, tying this into the story I'm talking to you about with World War I or World War II. I forgot which one it was, but there was a part where I think it was the United States versus Germany at one point, where it's Christmas Day, right? And they decide that for Christmas, they're gonna come and mingle with one another to exchange gifts, right? And to me, that's what this section right here depicts. It's Christmas Day. Right? It's Christmas Day. We're exchanging gifts with the enemy. We realize that, we are really cool. We can be potentially cool with one another, but our countries are at war, and we have to do our civic duty, quote unquote. But for this day right here, it's cold. You have food that is different from the food that I have. You have German food, I have American food. Let's just exchange foods. Let's just have peace for just this one day, for Christmas Day. We cease fire for today, tomorrow we go back to battle, right? Another analogy using the COPET method, right? Let's bring it up to modern day times. When you have this beautiful melody here, you could think of it as somebody who's fallen deeply, who's in love with somebody, but they're really shy to approach this person. That's why you have this part right here. But let's play those first 4 bars. It starts off like this. It says "Lehiero non legato pocho meno avrò espressivo" here, right? Those first 4 bars of this new beautiful melody, if we're using it in modern days time with the COPET method to depict this melody, I say that it's somebody who loves somebody from afar, right? They want to get their attention. They don't feel confident. That's why you hear this diminished. This part right here, this diminished melody. Now, when he resolved from this diminished melody to something major, even though he's shy and he's nervous to approach the person, he still has hope, right? So now what he decides to do is, he decides to start really working out, not just working out physically, but working on his mental so that he can be a better person and build more confidence to approach the woman that he loves with this melody. Let's depict that using the COPET method. Now, to me, when he decides to start working out and start working on his mental, going to therapy and becoming a better person, right? He's doing all the things, but deep inside, he still doesn't feel 100% confident. This is why you have this minor, the G minor melody. Now you have this melody. Yeah, how does right? Him doing this. Even though he doesn't feel 100% confident, he's starting to see the results of him actively trying to work on himself to be not only physically better, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally better, right? And now it's also starting to catch the attention of the woman that he loves, right? So let's play those 4 bars again. So we had right? He starts to catch her attention. So now he has even more confidence as we continue on. He approaches her finally. Let's say, boom. Let's use those 2 measures. We'll play it again. Right? What ends up happening is they catch each other's attention, they go on a date, they're having fun, but deep inside, he doesn't feel so sorry. They're on this date. Okay, let's play it again. So, even though he's on this date with the woman of his dreams, he doesn't feel confident in himself. The woman of his dreams tells him, hey, relax. I understand that you've put in a lot of work to better yourself so you can get my attention. I did the same thing too, with this melody. That instantly makes him feel happy, and he starts to feel even more confident. He finally has the woman of his dreams. And he is so happy. I'm going to do that whole thing again because I messed up the music. Right? So finally, he's on this date, right? She tells him, like, hey, listen, I know that you've been working on yourself to catch my eye. I always have admired you, right? And I'm glad that you're here. Let's build together. So now, after the date is over, months go by, they're in love with one another, and they get married. They have a kid. More than one kid. And they are super happy living together. And that's using the COPET method to help you really break down the music that you're dreaming or striving to play, right? Composer-oriented piano expression and technique method, right? What I'm showing you here is using the COPET method on a larger scale when you're applying it to pieces, right? But in order to really develop the COPET method, you need to be composing with different type of techniques before you start going to pieces, right? To certain pieces here. For example, like let's say I want to work on arpeggios. So let's say it's arpeggios that I want to work on. And the story that I came up with is I just got out of school after a long day of working in class and doing all these things and learning math and stuff, and I am finally free. I'm going to go to the park. But then it starts to rain. And I'm so angry. And I cannot go out because it's not only is it raining, but it is thunderstorming. Now, all of this that I'm showing you is, of course, is on a more advanced level, right? But even on a beginner level, your first step is working on arpeggios. And let's say this is a story, the same story. I just came out of school. I'm sad. I don't know what to do. I need help. Please help me. I don't know what to do. I just came out of school. It's raining. I don't know what to do. Right? It's using the same concept, the same story on whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level, or lower advanced level pianist, because I don't teach high advanced pianists, right? You're using the COPET method to help you work on these specific techniques through storytelling. And the purpose of this is to take away from the repetitive work of, okay, the traditional sense of playing piano where you learn technique, right? You learn, you drill, you drill, you drill, you drill, you end up becoming robotic, right? Then when you apply it to certain pieces, you cannot get, or what it may sound like to you may not sound as great as to others, right? Some people might be like, well, you're just a flashy pianist. So a lot of people might tell you you're just a flashy pianist with no substance behind what you're playing, right? And that is the worst thing that you can hear as a pianist, right? So that's where the COPET method teaches you in the early stages, middle stages, and lower advanced level stages, when you're working on technique, compose with it. Of course, using the traditional sense of how do you build technique, right? Whether it's scales, you build technique using dotted rhythms. Because what this does is it builds the muscle memory to help you get used to playing these different type of techniques, right? You use dotted rhythms, you work slow, right? All of this is, the traditional sense of playing piano is key, the foundation of the COPET method. But the COPET method takes everything a step further, right? Before you get to certain pieces, you should be able to compose, and not necessarily write everything down, right? But be able to compose a melody based off of what technique you're working with, so that by the time you get to a certain piece, it's like, oh snap, I already composed with this, right? I already came up with my own story with this type of technique, right? Now, it's second nature to me. So now when I go to these different type of pieces that has all of these arpeggios, because I composed with it, I know how to do this. Now, when I hear the melody in the left hand, oh, okay, well, this is my story, right? And now you're piecing together your own artistry, and you're developing, while you're developing your artistry, you're also developing the technique, right? And to go a step further when it comes to you developing your artistry, you start to learn, you start to really listen to yourself as the musician, and really listen to how your touches on the piano, right? You can have something that's really lyrical, and you can mess it up by playing using the pointed part of your fingers instead of, if it's something very lyrical, you can use the fleshy part ever watch Vladimir Horowitz play, number one, his hands were extremely huge, long fingers. But when it came to anything very lyrical, he would use the fleshy part of his finger. He wouldn't go like this, because it's a different sound. It's more pressure if you go like this, as opposed to there's this, there's this. This is harder. This is more velvety, more lyrical. And also, if you look closely at my movements, you see how I'm putting down the note. I don't know how to play this. Right? As opposed to playing it. The sound has to be more subtle. It has to be, lyrical. And if you don't have that type of touch, if you don't understand how to place your fingers down, how to, with grace, con grazia, you can't develop your artistry, right? Even if you're playing something that is really loud and boisterous, there's all types of ways to play forte. You have that, you have that, you have this. It all depends on how you strike the keys. Not every single piece that has forte in it or modulatissimo requires you this, because that sounds like a punching sound. You can have this. This is still forte or fortissimo, but if you look closely, I'm not striking from up here. I'm striking closer to the keys, and I'm putting it here, right? And that's another thing that comes with using my COPET method, attending my boot camps, attending my coaching to help you develop this type of artistry, this type of technique, right? This type of artistry, right? The technique, it is still technique in a sense. Your touch on the piano is the most important thing, and it's what separates you from being the pianist versus the piano player. Let me touch on that a little bit more, and then I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into this section here, and then I'll probably end, more than likely I'll end the live there. Because I'm still learning, I'm still reworking this piece into my fingers, right? So, the pianist versus the piano player. Let's start off, the pianist versus the piano player. Let's first start off with the piano player. He or she has all the brilliant, fine technique. They can play whatever they want. But then when you really listen to them, it sounds empty, it sounds hollow. The pianist, on the other hand, he or she has all the beautiful, brilliant technique and play whatever they want. But when you listen to them, they're telling a story. You can really connect with them on a really emotional, deep, spiritual level, right? Think of it like this. If you have heard your favorite pianist play something and it brought tears to your eyes, or it made you feel emotional, or you was just like, oh my gosh, this is really freaking amazing. For me, it was when I heard Olga Kern in the Tchaikovsky piano competition. Oh, it was the Van Cliburn piano competition. She's one of only 2 women to win the Van Cliburn competition. She played Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3, and I was just absolutely blown away. I fell in love with her interpretation, because not only did she have the speed and the technical aspects of it, but she made sure that she really shaped her melodic lines using her expressive touch on the piano, right? If you ever want to listen to it, go on YouTube, type in Olga Kern Piano Concerto No. 3 by Rachmaninoff. In my opinion, the most amazing performance of that monumental work. She did that piece beyond justice, right? And that's what it's all about. It's amazing to have brilliant technique. It's amazing to be able to feel like and know wholeheartedly that you could play what you want. But then you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not putting the music behind it, right? And even with Franz Liszt's music, Yes, there's a lot of technical aspects and a lot of showy stuff, but even that, there is points where you can show lyricism. Lyricism and artistry, your expressive playing, your touch on the piano, all of this goes in one bucket. And I always put that bucket over technique, right? Because if you just, like I've been saying, if you've just been working on technique, you end up sounding robotic. And the COPET method breaks all of that down, sounding robotic. I've saw a lot of students who they come to me, they sound so robotic because they've been working and drilling. They have brilliant technique, but where's your artistry? If you're playing a Chopin nocturne, why does it sound like you're playing a Liszt etude, right? Where's your artistry, right? And we're not just talking about just playing slow music or more lyrical music. We're talking about playing music that's extremely fast and extremely challenging. Where is your artistry? Where's it at? That becomes so bland, it becomes so empty. And the COPET method helped me tremendously transform into the pianist that I am today. And I have helped a lot of other students using this COPET method. So with that being said, let's replay this whole entire section where now we're going back to using Mazeppa. He's the king, right? He has fought in this battle, right? It's Christmas Day. You are King Jared, let's say, and you are my enemy. I'm King Mazeppa, and it's Christmas Day at 12 midnight or whatever. We wake up 6 a.m. in the morning. I come to you, you come to me. We meet in the middle of the battlefield, and we say, hey, listen, we need to just have, for today is Christmas. Let's just have a ceasefire. Let's come together as people. Everybody leave their guns down, put their guns down, and let's just come together as the most important thing, human race, being human beings. And let's exchange food, let's exchange drink, and let's just have fun with one another. I learn about you, you learn about me, I learn about your customs, you learn about my customs. But tomorrow, we're back at it. So, after you have this part right here, I'm using now the right pedal, which is the sustain pedal, and the left pedal, which is gonna add even more of the story, even add more to the story through the COPET method. So now we have. Another thing is that I'm playing much slower. And if you look at my movements, they really depict how I feel here and here. Last part, much better, because we told the story. It's Christmas time. We're firing. Now, even though it's Christmas time, we're still in the back of our mind, we're still thinking of the battle, right? And even though, yes, we may have quote unquote ceasefire and laid down our arms for today, in the back of my mind, I know that I don't fully 100% trust you, right? So this is why now you have this beautiful same melody, but then you have this chromaticism that's coming. I feel as if, with this chromaticism, I feel as you're still plotting and scheming on me in some type of way. You still have people coming in to my camp spying and trying to get secrets. So even though we are having fun, I still don't trust you. rumbling. I see all these people around me that are talking from your camp about how tomorrow you're not even gonna wait for us to get our stuff together. You are going to attack us out of nowhere. I know you. But I'm too smart for that because I have a plan up my sleeve. It's called, I can't tell you. It's called, actually, I'm gonna tell you. I have people from my camp that's spying on you. And you just don't even know it. And now, it's the next morning, and we are getting ready to go into battle. And as I'm waking my troops up, because I can hear them actually plotting and scheming on us. We were supposed to go back into battle at 8 a.m. December 26th. My spies had come back to me and told me that you are planning to attack me and my army at 7 a.m. And this is why we have. What is this part? That's what it is. Section here, 100%. I'm still working on it. But overall, what this is telling me is that there is no whatchamacallit. You're not safe in battle. Even if you cease fire, you still have to be eyes open and aware of what that opponent is potentially doing. If you heard my story, you know that I said that, okay, I know that you have spies spying on me and my camp, trying to get secrets, right? I know that even though we cease fire, you still have people working for you. Well, guess what? Surprise, surprise, I have the same thing too. I don't need to play it again to fully explain it, but as the piece goes on, of course, there's more. Etc., right? As the piece goes on, it gets more and more challenging, right? And it still has the main melody, back into battle, right? With these horses galloping and coming at my horses coming and galloping at you, and you're pushing back and all that other stuff back and forth. But then, what's so beautiful about this? It comes to a head, right here. I'm looking at all the people that I've lost. And you're looking at all the people that you've lost. Is war really worth it? That's what we're both starting to think. Matter of fact, it might be. Because you really tried to play me. I don't care about how many people you lost. It's war. But it's really sad, and I'm angry that I lost so many people. But also, as I look to my left and I look to my right and I look over the hill, I see you creeping up on me, you and your army. And I don't have much reinforcements left. But the thing is that as I think that I'm getting ready to perish, you're right there at the front door. Out of nowhere comes another army, my other allies. COPET method to help you decipher pieces by telling your own story through the music. It's one thing to be inspired by your favorite composers. It's another thing to be inspired by your favorite pianist. But the worst thing that we as pianists can do is to mimic our favorite pianist, mimic our favorite composer, which is literally impossible to do because with all these different composers from the 1800s, there is not a lot of historical recordings of them playing their own music. And even with Rachmaninoff, who not only composed music but recorded some of his music or a lot of his own music, pianists after him do not play exactly like him. They put their own artistry in it. So, I say all that to say this: the COPET method helps you, the pianist, to find yourself as an artist at the piano. It takes away the pressure that's being put on you to be perfect, like a Mozart or a Liszt or Beethoven. But here's the thing: even with Beethoven was not perfect, because even he said, what's his quote? The quote says, "To hit a wrong note is irrelevant. To play without passion is inexcusable." Which means, if you translate it, it means that there's nothing wrong with hitting wrong notes, of course, within reason. But if you are playing without the passion, without the fire, if your audience sees you as somebody who is just, oh, I'm just playing just to play, and they can't connect with you, then your performance and the value of who you are as a pianist starts to decline and go to the wayside. And that's something that you don't want to happen, right? And this is why the COPET method is like a level up from your regular traditional method, because it takes off that pressure of sounding and playing perfect, because music is not perfect. There's no such thing, right? You can, my students, when they use my COPET method, they compose music based off of techniques that they're learning in my boot camps, and by the time they get to the end, they have their own signature piece, right? And that's what it's all about, playing your own music, right? And then they can use the same COPET methods when it comes to this and have their own signature sound when it comes to them playing Mazeppa or Liszt or Chopin or Brahms or Mozart, right? They come up with their own artistry. They develop their own artistry, and that's the most important thing about being a musician and taking off this veil of perfection that doesn't exist, right? So, this was a lot of fun to do. This is another episode of Cliff's Corner, man. And I showed you how I use my own COPET method, the composer-oriented piano expression and technique method. Even though I didn't compose anything and work on scales or a specific technique, I used my own COPET method to tell a story to help me work through the Mazeppa. I'm going to use the same COPET method to learn all 12 of these etudes for a recital next June in 2026. This is the most beautiful thing. I love this because there's a lot of hard music in here, but if I don't know how to shape it, if I don't know how to use my own method, the COPET method, to shape and come up with my own storytelling to help me depict my picture of what potentially Liszt wanted. What is it all about? Am I supposed to copy Claudio Rao? Am I supposed to copy Leslie Howard? Am I supposed to copy Lang Lang? Am I supposed to copy Vladimir Horowitz? No, I am my own person. I am my own artistry. I am my own person. I have my own artistry. And with the COPET method, it has taken my own artistry and my technique to heights unimaginable that I couldn't even deem was possible. Me changing text and not really caring, because I strongly believe in that music is so subjective, right? Of course, within reason, right? I'm not saying bend the rules and do all this extra stuff, no. You're still sticking to some type of parameters, right? For example, if a piece like the Ricordanza, right? I decide to play it. Or let's say, better example, let's say Franz Liszt Un Suspiro. When I talk about playing, bending the rules, or within reason, it's not doing this. If you don't know Un Suspiro, you know this is really beautiful piece. It's not doing this. No. It's really shaping the melodic line, because even though you have these arpeggios on the floor, right, and you're doing this cross hand technique, you still have to bring out this melody. And so forth and so on. And that's why the COPET method works like a charm. COPET method, composer-oriented piano expression and technique method, is changing pianists from working heavily on being technically proficient at the instrument. Let me say this over. The COPET method is taking my students who are technically proficient at the instrument, right, or students who have been working tirelessly on building their technique, and forgetting the most important part, their artistry. And we do this all through storytelling. So if you're somebody who is struggling as a pianist, no matter whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or lower advanced level, if you're somebody that's struggling tremendously, mightily, then I offer you to comment the word level up, or DM me the word level up, to book a free piano consultation with me to see how either my boot camps or whether my coaching will be a great fit for you, right? If you're really frustrated with hitting your head on the proverbial wall and trying to transition from somebody who is a pianist who works heavily on the technical aspect, which is the piano player, and you want to transition into being the pianist. I love y'all. Thank you so much. Another episode of Cliff's Corner. We out.